Ho, crafty friends, it's Diane the Creative Inkster. Today is Wednesday, September 20th, and it's 7 o'clock, and it's What's Up Wednesday. So someone asked a question, my friend Robin, how do you color a stamp so that you have more than one color on your stamp? So I wanted to show you a couple of techniques for doing that, and we'll just do a little experimenting too and see how that goes. So if you're out there watching live, let me know you're here. Give me a comment, say hi, let me know where you're from, whatever you want to say. And if you're watching on the replay, let me know that too. And any questions you've got, just add them into the comments and we'll get them answered. I'm Diane Inkster, the Creative Inkster. I'm an Independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I'm here to share some of this fun with you. All right, I'm going to pick the first stamp set. So this works very well on cling stamps. So by cling stamps, I mean the red rubber ones. We're going to try it on the photopolymer. I find I don't get quite the same results, but we'll see how it works out. So let's use this one, which is the large thanks, and we're going to give it a couple of different ways to do this. Are you there? Are you watching? Let me know. I got to know. All right, so I'm going to grab this larger, and by that I mean sort of in height, thank you or thanks stamp. We're going to try a couple things. So we'll try some Stampin' Right markers. Now my markers are the original ones, and the newer ones are a little bit different formulation, but the same idea. And what you can do is literally color half with one color of marker, and then hi Brenda, and then another part with another, or you could go this way as well. Actually, let's go that way. And you might want to grab a piece of cardstock. So I'm just going to grab a scrap piece here to help that I don't overshoot and get too much into one side. So let's go across the stamp this way. Okay, so we'll get a color in a vertical pattern. All right, so under the TH kind of, I'm just going to put this here, and I'm going to use my brush end of my Stampin' Right marker. So you'll notice on your Stampin' Right markers that there's a thick line and a thin line. The thick line end has more of a brush end. The other end is more like a bullet end for journaling with. So that was Melon Mambo. Let's go with Coastal Cabana. We're going to slide this over. I'm not concerned that I have stopped midstream and started talking about something. And so now I'm going to go back over where I was and then pick up the color going forward, because we're going to re-moisten this and make it work. Not a perfect science. And then let's see, let's go with this one, which is Granny Apple Green for the last couple of letters. So I'm going on the side. So what's important is that you don't want to be going straight down like this. You're going to damage the tip of your marker. So now we know it's been a while since I stamped the Melon Mambo, so we have to re-moisten it. And how we do that is we breathe on it with open mouth, and so that's going to add some moisture back to the ink. And by doing so, you'll see that I've made the block. You'll see my breath on the block, so that's how you know you've added more. And then you can either stamp it exactly where you want it to land, maybe in the corner, top right or bottom, or you can do it in the center of a piece and punch or die cut it out. So that's how you get 3 colors going this way. Now it's a lot fainter than if you had just taken the ink and gone directly on it, because you are using the markers, and the ink, when you're doing this direct to stamp technique, doesn't work the same as when you use full strength ink pads. Fair enough. Let's try it the other way. So if you clean your stamp, you want to make sure that it's dry, and we'll use 2 other colors. Go with Flirty Flamingo. So once again, I was going to freehand this all, but once again you can put a piece down, kind of hold it in place. Helps you get more of a straight line between the colors. Not necessary, but it's an option. And I will use Granny Apple Green on the other side. I just grabbed a couple of markers here, so you can use your full complement of markers that you have in your stash. And I do tend to use the lighter color first. And the reason for that is, and I just did it without even thinking to tell you I did it, is just in case I go over one color, it's okay to go dark onto light, but you don't necessarily, onto light on the stamp. You don't necessarily want to go the other way. Remoisten, and here we go with this one. So now we've got it across the top and the bottom in two different colors. All right, so that's that. That's one technique. So let's try this technique with a photopolymer stamp and see how that works. So by photopolymer, I mean something that is the clear see-through stamps. So I'm going to use Ale, yes, that's not easy to say, to do this one. It's a nice kind of vertical stamp. All right, so then we're going to use, let's see, I only grabbed those brights ones. So we'll go with red and green. And we'll go vertically. So once again, oh, and this one's on a little bit of a slant, so that makes it a little bit more interesting. Let's just try going green for the top and bottom greetings, and then red in the middle. So I'm going to go green and then red for the ale. They kind of touch a little bit. That's not a big deal. And you know, when it comes to which one is thicker or which one is darker, then I can think they're both pretty close. Oh, I could have left that exclamation point and done it in red too. I can still do that. There's a couple ways to do that. You can take a blender pen and you can remove the ink that way. Flip this over, or all my stuff here, my scratch paper. Just make sure that I get that off. So that will remove it. Or you can use a baby wipe or something. And then we're going to add the red on here. So remember, this is photopolymer, so it's not the same as the red rubber in taking the color on. Remoisten, always need to do that. Oh, ale, yes. Oh, well, actually, it turned out better than I thought. Sometimes I found that with the photopolymer, if the lines of your lettering are very thin, then it won't have the same impact. And I didn't get all the green off, so I'd probably go over it there with my marker again. So that is the marker technique, direct to stamp. One down, two to go. Now we'll tuck those aside, and now we're going to try ink spots. So these ink spots, they kind of look like I made them, and indeed I did. So in our catalog, our annual catalog, there are two types of ink spots on page 137 up at the top here. There's a package of 8 colors: gray, coastal cabana, daffodil, flirty, gorgeous grape, granny apple green, real red, and shaded spruce. So it gives you a nice variety of colors. And that pack is $33 for 8 of these 1x1 ink spots. Alternatively, we sell a package of 5 uninked stamp spots here, 5 of them, and you can ink them up with reinkers. So if you only find that you have a color that you like, or you're going to do it for a special project, and you're really not going to use that color long term and don't want to invest in the ink pad, this is kind of a cheaper way to do it, because the package of 5 is $12.25, and you get 5 ink spots. And then you can buy the re-inker for $7, and it's just a little bit, a bit of a savings for you, and you can make your own. And you simply take the ones that have the plain ones that are uninked, and you run your re-inker over top until it fills up with color. Pretty simple. So these are easy to work with. The other way you might have a bunch of them is if you have a paper pumpkin or any of our kits that come with ink spots. So you might collect these over time, which is kind of what I had done. I collected a bunch of them over time, and I just made some of my own labels for them. So let's try that on a separate piece of paper. We're going to go with Gorgeous Grape and Daffodil Delight. And I'm going to do, now there's a couple things you can do here. You can take a Post-it note. Who doesn't have a million of these kicking around? And you can, the same way that I used the paper and held it here, I could also use a Post-it note. I can stick that over like that, and then go over with my ink pad. So I'm going to get a little bit better coverage, I'm guessing, by doing it that way. And then I'm going to take my Gorgeous Grape, which is the darker color. I'm going to flip this around so I can get better. And I kind of eyeball how I want it to go down. So it's not going to go quite as evenly, but that's okay. We're not always looking for that. And we're just going across, and we'll re-moisten by breathing on it and putting the color down. So there we go. That's our two-tone that way. Super simple. Let's try it in the other direction. So we'll go back to our thanks stamp here. And we will do 2 or 3 colors. Let's do these 3. Whoop. Put Daffodil Delight in the middle. All right, so Coastal Cabana on the end. And you're going to want to re-ink these once in a while, because I can see my Coastal Cabana is nice and juicy. Daffodil Delight may not show up quite as well. It's a much lighter color. And then I've gone over a little bit further on the last 2 letters. That's okay. I'm going to cover it with Gorgeous Grape. No problemo. And one tip when you have your, oh, I think I better go over this L because I didn't quite get that too straight. When you have your ink spots and you decide you don't need that color anymore, you can run these under water in a tap until it runs, it'll be stained, but until the color runs clear, and then you can re-ink it and use it for another color. Re-moisten, and we've got a 3-tone with our ink spots. Pretty cool, huh? Pretty easy. Let's try this with one of the other ones over here. Move that out of the way. And we're going to use from this Brewed For You stamp set, the I Owe You one. So it's a little bit wider. And it didn't work well, Diane, not very straight. And I think I like doing this in the vertical strips to have it a little bit easier, but I can also, I can also take my sticky note and cover up the top words, which is, it's not showing you very well, is it? Let me get a block without any writing on it. It says, I owe you one, and then the writing underneath is or several in brackets. So let's try and get 2 colors this way. Okay. And of course, you can always do a mixture of the 2. You could do marker and ink spots. Let's see how well I'm going to be at putting this in here. I would literally use my marker. I think that's more my preferred way to add color. It's a little easier to manage. My hand's not shaky. Re-moisten and stamp that down. Well, that worked out fairly well. I owe you one or several. Hi, Robin. I'm so glad you're catching it too. All right. So there we go with the ink spots. Another suggestion I was going to make to you if you're an ink spot lover and want to use them is here's another way that makes using them easier. I find when I take them apart to use them, you saw me, I drop them. I don't have really good control over them. I don't know if that's just my hands, but I did get a sponge dauber and I took off the foamy piece. I just peeled it off. This is one like the dauber where the foamy piece was all frayed and not doing well anyway. And I put a circular, you know what they're called? Oh my goodness, Velcro dot. A circular, but this is the hard part. And then on the back of the little boxes, I put the soft part there. So that's where they connect, you know, when you're using Velcro. And then this way, I'm just going to do this. I can add the ink with a little more control and a little less chance I'm going to get it all over me. Not perfect, but it does work and it does help. So there you go. That's just adding the ink all in one. So there's a couple of ways with your sponge daubers and a few with a sponge dauber tip, and just a few ways to use the Stampin' Spots, 1-inch Stampin' Spots. I really encourage you, if there are ink pads you don't want to spend a lot of money on, but you really want them and you think that would be a good way to collect them, get the re-inkers. You'll use those for sure. And then the third way that I've done it is with actual ink pads and sticky note. A little more precarious, I will say that. As I mentioned up the top, my preferred way, which I probably should wait to the end, is with the with markers. And on the note of markers, I'm recommending Stampin' Write markers. That's these ones, the water-based ones, but not your Stampin' Blends. Stampin' Blends are alcohol-based. As soon as they hit that stamp, they pretty much start to dry, and it just doesn't stay. You can't re-moisten them. They don't. It just doesn't work. So, not a good thing for your blends. All right, so this one here, I'm going to use the long one, I think. The greatest gift is a good friend. That's nice, right? That's a nice greeting. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go vertically across. It's a thin greeting. It's not very tall top to bottom. So let's start on this side. I don't know why, but I tend to work from the right to the left on this little process. Not quite sure why, but you can use your big pads. You just need to kind of have an idea of where it's landing. So there's a nice bright color. I'm going to put Azure Afternoon next. And now I got to kind of be careful what I'm doing here. And I'm going to put a sticky note, as I want to do 3 colors. So I'm going to get this one in the middle. And then I'm going to cover this one up here. I'm going to do this one in the middle, but keeping an eye of not covering up the pink. Whoa! Did I ever do well? Amazing. Take that off, don't forget. And then I'm going in with lemon lime twist. So you kind of, this takes a little practice. See, it's almost like you put it down and you fold it over. And then you've got another little bit of color there. So not perfect. Re-moisten. But I just wanted you to know that you can use your markers, your regular size ink pads. And when they overlap, as they did here, you get both colors kind of mixed together, and that's okay too. But really, it turned out quite well, given it's a thin marker and a thin stamp and a very dark ink pad color. All right, so let's recap what we've learned here. Adding 2 tones to your stamps, and another way you can use these same techniques I'll tell you about as well. So this is the first one we did. We did it vertically and horizontally, and we used our Stampin' Write markers. Remember, not Stampin' Blends. And this is a photopolymer one with doing it in 2 different colors. Then we went to the 1x1 ink spots, which you can get as paper pumpkin or from our various kits, or you can buy them uninked and add your own colors with refills, or buy the 8-pack of ink spots. And we did them horizontally, vertically, doing 1 line and a separate line. And then this is how it looked when I used my little hack of an old sponge dauber and then using that to apply the color just to make it easier. And then here's with your regular ink pads and just kind of eyeballing as you go across and availing yourself of some sticky notes to kind of cover up parts of it as you go. Rightio, there's some hacks for you. Hope this helps you in your crafting, gives you a chance to use your products all in a new way. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.